Are y'all seeing that?
Nope.
Didn't think so. Hold on. Let me try this again. Okay, now we're good.
Here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to TREIA Experienced. And Lonnie has a great program lined up for you today. After Leslie and I give you a couple of quick announcements. This is our experienced members, but because we're on Zoom, we do let in person, you actually have to have completed so many deals to attend this meeting. On Zoom, we do let less experienced people attend, so welcome if you are not an experienced member, but be aware that this may be on a level that may be somewhat above you. Don't worry though, you'll get a bird's eye view of it, and sometime in the future, and perhaps we'll have one of our new prep classes on a really basic step-by-step on a BRR. So welcome, and we're glad to have you here. Because this is a meeting for experienced investors, we wanted to let you all know for our experienced investors that some of the new programs that we have, because we were able to change our structure, we are now able to offer these, which we were not before and could not in the past. So we have a lot of new things going on. For the experienced members in particular, we have the TREIA Brain Trust. Sign up for that. If you're interested, just drop us a note in the chat and we'll send you an application. It is by application only. This is for experienced members, and you'll have opportunities for special offers and to become a leader in TREIA. You can also sign up to be a mentor for our new mentorship program, another new thing we could not do before, which we're doing now. For this one, you can get paid. So if you'd like to be a mentor, Lionel Finley is heading that up. I don't have his email address handy, so if you're interested, stick a note in the chat and I'll get it to him. And then we have our new sorry. Oh, you want to put it in the chat,
I'll
Leslie?
put it in the chat.
Okay, Leslie will put Lionel in the chat so you can contact him directly. That's for the mentor. If you're interested in being a mentor. For you newer people, if you didn't go days off, you're welcome to go days off or get a cup of coffee. But if you are still here and you're interested in having a mentor, you can also email Lionel. And then we have our prep program, which is practical real estate projects. That's two-part, virtual, and that's going to be every month at the time of the old millennials meeting. That's going to be a step-by-step taking you through very basic things. The first one is going to be how to fill out a purchase contract. We have a list of other ideas, for example, how to find comps for free on a tax site. We are taking your suggestions for ideas for that. And we will be sending out a list of ideas to get your input on what ones you like, what ones you don't like, what order you'd like to see them in. It's just that we had to start with one, so we picked a really super easy one. So if you have ideas about that, and be looking out for that. Anything you would like to have step by step, let us know. And then the second part of prep is live. And right now we have two projects forming. One is prep rehab. That's the same as the project house we did last year, where the class will buy a house, rehab it, and sell it. And then we have prep wholesale, and the class will wholesale a house. So if you're interested in any of those, as a brain trust or experienced member, and you want to participate in any way, to be a leader, to teach a prep, Zoom class, or be involved in any way, let us know. If you are a newer member who's still hanging out here listening and you're not experienced and you want to join one of those, let us know. All these are thanks to our new format. The reason this came about is like 3 years ago, we had the same structure for a long time, which is a C6 nonprofit, which couldn't really do anything. It couldn't help people like a true charitable nonprofit, and it couldn't make any profit. So, and that was great for a group of 200 members, but when we became 1,200, it just didn't work. So the board worked 3 years, and the format we decided on is to split up into two groups. So we now have a true charitable nonprofit that you can donate to, tax deductible, and they do only charitable work. They have their own board. None of us are involved in that. Patrick Curley, who many of you know, heads that up. And then we have the LLC. We had board members, we would lose board members a lot because, again, managing 1,200 members is way harder than 200. So it's a lot of work. And we wanted to be able to pay board members, which we were not allowed to do before. We were not allowed to have any programs that made a profit, so we wouldn't have had money to pay board members. So we did make the change for that reason as well. However, board members are still not being paid for other reasons. So we're still doing all this volunteer
And
for
we're
now.
still
But
doing
you know
it.
what? maybe someday, but that's some of the reasons that we made the change. So with the new format, then we could do projects that would make a profit, allow us to put that money back into TREIA for other projects and to pay board members. So despite maybe some other things you might have heard, those are the reasons was for the benefit of TREIA. Nobody has profited personally, quite the contrary. And then, we wanted to be able to offer these programs where we could teach practical skills like buy a house and sell it. And we couldn't do any of that stuff before. We could talk about it, but we couldn't do it ourselves. So none of these would exist if we go back. And if you have been asked to sign an affirmation, we're finding out that a lot of people thought they were just signing that to get more information. In truth, what you signed was that the entire board, the board has been working for the last year, many hours to bring you all these meetings, be fired. It goes back to the old format, which all these new programs would go away, and that the money be given back. Of course, the money's going to be gone because of this whole situation, so that's not even an issue. Anyway, that's sort of the lowdown on that. If you have any questions or want to talk about that or have your questions answered, please feel free to drop us a note in the chat or send us an email. So about this meeting, we'd love to see your faces. Please have your cameras on. As you can see from our little contest that we do now, you can win TREIA bucks if you recognize yourself in the picture, but we're not going to put you in the picture if you don't have your cameras on, and you have to be here for the beginning slideshow. So if anyone would like to do a little quick introduction of themselves today, it's really quick, 1 minute or less. Stick me a note in the chat. You don't have to make it up. We'll send you the questions to ask. If nobody volunteers, we will dispatch with that today. But if you'd like to, please drop a note in the chat. Remember, we're networking on our Facebook networking page. We also now are having a new networking meeting every month. Yay, because the one in December worked out so awesome. Leslie's going to tell you more about that. The last thing is one new feature is going to be on our social media, Rehab Tuesday. Every Tuesday, starting next Tuesday, on all of our social media channels, you're going to be able to see 2 rehabs side by side, very different. For the first iteration, there's one that's a big, fancy, expensive one, and one that's a quick, simple little pig on a lipstick fix and flip. So if you have future project you'd like to be featured on Rehab Tuesday, hit us up. That's all I have, Leslie.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. As for our subgroup meetings and calendar going into next week, if you haven't checked or signed up already, you will notice that next Tuesday night, which is our regularly scheduled TREIA North meeting, and because we're still not for the month of January, thank you, Governor Cooper, but we're still not going to be meeting in person for January because they're extending the restrictions. We're going to make next Tuesday night just a straight networking, no speakers, no anything like that, just straight networking. We'll set up rooms like we do at our general meeting, where we'll have landlords and rehabbers and wholesalers and money people, and we'll set up rooms and you all can just pick and choose a room if you want to go in there and talk to people, get a conversation going, because of course that's something that we've been missing severely over the last 10 months or so, when we had to go to Zoom. So that's next Tuesday, where we're on the calendar. It'll be TREIA North, but we're just going to do a straight networking meeting next Tuesday. And then on Wednesday night is our new investors. And we do have a new investor subgroup leader. Andrew Miller's come to us from actually north of us, I do believe he came from. Anyway, he's getting active in the triangle and he's getting involved in TREIA, and he's going to be leading our new investors. So next Wednesday, it's going to be start your year off right for the new guys, and get your business set up correctly, what you need to do to start off on the right foot and go through the year and scale your business. So that will be with Andrew. And then, but Cheryl is going to be speaking. Cheryl Gleason-Friel, who, yeah, there she is, who leads our Fayetteville meeting. You would have been on it, was that last night? God, yes. Last night, it's Friday today, isn't it? And that was a really super informative meeting we had last night. So Cheryl's going to speak on setting up your business properly next Wednesday. And going forward to our main monthly meeting on Tuesday the 19th is everybody needs to get on this one, because if you have not experienced the wolf couple, you need to get on this meeting. It's going to be a little more subdued on Zoom than it would be in person, because Lynette wouldn't be running around like a chicken with her head cut off and howling. But they're amazingly successful investors. They've got a bunch of really good creative ideas for you. So sign up early and be on the main monthly meeting. That's Tuesday the 19th at 6:30. And then for the rest of the month, just check your calendars where everything's getting posted. So you'll know, sign up early, show up, turn your camera on. We want to see your smiley face. Thank you.
All right, we have Brett Long, who's going to give us a 1 minute or less introduction of himself, and then Cheryl will take it away. Go
Yay,
ahead, Brett.
Brett.
Hey guys, can you see me?
Wait, sorry, Brett, that's confusing. We have Brett Long, who's going to do a little intro, and then Cheryl.
And Brett
introduce you.
Beeman
I'm
is our
sorry.
speaker.
That was really confusing, Brett Beeman. I'm sorry. So
Tell
Brett
the two
Long.
Bretts here.
I don't know if Brett Beeman runs into this, but there aren't many groups that you have another Brett in the group. So I can usually when I hear Brett, I think everyone's referring to me. So I apologize.
No, I was referring to you, Brett Long. Go ahead.
All right. Yes, I joined TREIA just earlier this week, and want to learn more about the community here in the Central North Carolina area. I'm based in Raleigh. Actually, heard about TREIA through Bigger Pockets, which I started researching and learning more about probably about this time last year. So again, hope to learn from some experienced investors as well as everyone else here at TREIA. And other than investing, my day job is sales and operations finance for a software company. We used to be based in downtown Raleigh, but as most everyone now, we're kind of working remotely. And investing that I do, actually, the first investment I just wrapped up at the end of this past year was a Burr investment. So that's what I'm interested in, obviously, and why I'm here today. That's pretty much it. My minute's up.
Thank you, Brett. Cheryl, Bailani, take it away.
Thanks so much, guys. Holy cow. Woo! This is exciting, guys, to see you. Thank you for having your pictures up. I see some of you know that I'm going to ask you to put your pictures up, please. Also, make sure that you have the accurate name. If you want to also put it's best to contact you via Facebook or Instagram or either, because we aren't networking in person, this is a great opportunity. Maybe during this meeting, or take a picture and right after, reach out to every single person that was on this call and make a connection and say, hey, it was great seeing you on the meeting today, so that there's actually getting some networking follow-up from this and actually getting some relationships built, okay? Because the things that Brett's going to tell us today are awesome. I'm so excited to hear this, but there's also so much more to learn from each other. So make sure that you are making those connections. Brett Long, so good to meet you, man. First weekend and he's here. I can tell he's got something to write with probably. He's like got his camera on. I'm a little nervous about, how do I say it? Harshad Dre. I'm so glad his video's on, but I'm a little nervous. Drive safe, man, but it's good to have you here. And I like your video. It's good to see your smiling face always. So today I probably asked Brett if he could speak. I think I first asked him probably like a year and a half ago when he first started doing, I don't know, when did you start doing birds? Like 2 years ago, maybe. He'll probably tell us. But I was like, I want to hear more about the details of every little thing about it. So let me tell you a little bit about Brett. He's been investing in real estate in the Triangle since 2013. And he's done rehabs and rentals and BRRRR deals and house hacking and wholesaling. House hacking, which you all know I love, short-term rentals and house hacking is like my passion, and BRRRR deals and wholesaling, and has built a team with the goal of doing 40 deals in 2021. Today, he's going to talk about one of his BRRRR case studies that he acquired as a rental for under If you don't know Brett Beeman, you need to reach out to him because he is not only an awesome investor, but a great guy and friend. So thank you so much, Brett, for being here. I love and miss him and can't wait to hear about what he has to say. If you guys have any questions at any point, make sure that you write them in the chat. We love the questions, love the questions. So as they come, don't feel dumb. We're all friends here. We're all learning. Even though this is experienced investors, there's still stuff to learn. So make sure you're writing your questions in the chat and we'll try to get to those at the end. So Brett, take it away. Thank you, my friend.
All right. Hey guys, y'all will have to help me along. This is my first time being a presenter on a Zoom call. But yeah, Melanie hit it off. I've been investing for a while. I've known her for a little bit. You want me to go ahead and put up my slides?
When he says a little bit, by the way, guys, we've known each other for 5 years. So like, I think we've been friends for like 5 years, right, Brett?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So yes. Yeah, let's start your slides and let's dive into it.
All right. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay. All right. So this is my presentation on the BRRRR strategy, and it's how I try to get houses, rental properties for as cheap as possible. So this is my timeline for today. I'm going to give you a little bit about me, a little bit about my background so you know more about me. I'm going to give you a lot of information. I'm going to tell you about the BRRRR strategy. I'm going to walk you through it. And in that, I'm going to tell you how to find good tenants, how I find good tenants. And then at the end of it, how to find lenders to refinance your rental property, because it's something that you'll need if you do want to try this strategy out. And I recommend that everybody try it out. It's always worked out well for me. I was born here in Raleigh in 1983. I'm a Raleigh native. I got a degree in criminology from NC State. I later went back to school, got my doctorate in physical therapy from ECU in 2012. And in 2014, Fortune Builders came around. They're one of those real estate investing education companies that are national. I signed up with them. My beginnings in real estate started when I was about 2 or 3. My dad had rental properties and did work on them, and he'd take me along, and to keep me busy, he'd give me a hammer and nails to hammer into the framing, just to keep me busy. And this is the house that I grew up in. It's in Raleigh. It's really close to the Krispy Kreme, if you know where that is, in historic Oakwood.
Ask if it was by Krispy Kreme. That's probably a bad thing that I know the houses around Krispy Kreme, but I totally recognize your house. I had no idea that was yours.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah, when I was growing up, we didn't have air conditioning. So you'd sleep with the windows open, and I'd wake up on Saturday mornings and I could smell the donuts from the Krispy Kreme from my bed. So
that's awesome.
I went through a fat stage in middle school. So that was the house I grew up in. It's 115 years old. And my dad, being in real estate and in construction, whenever anything broke, he would drag my brother and I kicking and screaming over to the house, or to whatever it was that was broken, to teach us how to fix it. And of course, we didn't want to do that. We'd rather be playing video games or doing something outside. But, he taught us how to fix doorknobs and toilets and sinks and stuff. And it turned out great, because, now I rarely have to hire anybody to fix anything anywhere. Well, in my house. I don't do any of the work on my rehabs, not anymore. But yeah, it was great. I learned how to do everything on these properties. Going back to the start, real estate's been in my family for generations. This is my grandfather. He had Beeman Building and Beeman Realty Company in Greensboro. He had his office building. He had his sign there. And I think we have that sign in storage somewhere. Then my dad started Beeman Building and Realty here in the Triangle in 1990. He did a lot of new construction. He got himself a building downtown. And so there's the Beeman Building in Raleigh. And this is what my dad
Wait,
did.
hold up, Brett. Sorry, this is distracting and I apologize.
Sorry.
Go back to the other picture. Is your dad the one on the left or the right?
My dad's the one on the left.
Really? He kind of looks like the Dos Equis guy.
Oh, he does. He does in that picture, doesn't
In
he?
that picture, he totally does. Sorry, I'm sure your dad's a great man, but he's the greatest man ever. I mean, he's the Dos Equis guy. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell him you said that. Um,
How embarrassing.
so yeah, this is what he did. He would build these homes as spec homes, and he liked to build these 800,000 multi-million-dollar homes, and put what he wanted to in them, and then turn around and try and sell them. I think he's crazy, but he made it work for 30 years. Again, more of the houses that he did. So he did a lot of really nice work. So I started grad school back in 2009 at ECU. And the summer of 2010, I had a buddy who gave me these two books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I know that starts a lot of people off. Lit a fire under me. He gave me that book and this one, Investing in Duplexes, Triplexes, and Quads. And I tore through those in like a week. And that pretty much started everything. I was ready to start buying houses. So my first property I purchased when I got out of grad school, first thing I did was go out and try to find a duplex. I wanted to live in half and rent out half. And I found this one in April of 2013. I fixed up the right side. I did all the work there myself. And then I moved into that side and I rented out the left side until those folks moved out. 2014, like I said, Fortune Builders came around. I joined them and I struggled for like a year and a half. I didn't do my first deal until January of 2016. I didn't do my first flip until later on that year. So I was in for almost 2 years before I really did much of anything or had much of any success. But those two books, Fortune Builders, getting into real estate, my goal was to build passive income through cash flowing rental properties. If any questions come through, just let me know. I can't see them.
I got you, Brett. I'll tell you if there's any.
Sounds good. But my goal was to build passive income through rental properties, and that had been my goal for 10 years now. So this is how I do it. I use the BRRRR strategy, and it's a strategy for owning or controlling cash flowing rental properties with little to no money out of your own pocket. So I say little to no money because if you do it right, do it well, then you can get properties with no money out of your pocket. And it's basically like getting free houses. So this is my example that a typical rental purchase. So if you're going to go out and buy a property off the MLS and you're going to get bank financing for it and it's an investment property, the bank's going to require you to put 20 to 25% down. So if you were going to buy something that's $120,000, the bank's going to want you to put $30,000 down. That's a nice chunk of change. So if you do put $30,000 down, you have a $90,000 mortgage at 4.25%. The slide's a little old. I think those rates are a little bit lower now. Your payment, your PITI is $605 a month. And just for clarification, that's $600 a year in insurance, $1,300 a year for taxes. If you rent it for $1,200 a month, then you're going to cash flow just under $600 a month, but that doesn't include vacancy. It doesn't include management. That doesn't include repairs. So if you put all that together, it's $7,000 a year minus 20% vacancy and maintenance. You're at $5,700 a year, which isn't bad. You bring $5,700 in, you put $30,000 down, you get 19% return on investment. That's not bad, but we can do better. Because I personally, I don't want to put $30,000 down. I mean, if I could put $5,000 down, that $30,000 could be 6 other houses. But here's how it works. These are the steps. It's buy, BRRRR, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And really just do those in order and you end up with free houses. But what you want to remember with this one, it's the same Mayo formula that you're going to use to analyze these properties as you would on any flip. I typically start with 75% of ARV minus repairs, and I'll work my way down from that. So all of the properties that I analyze, everything that comes across my desk, all of my deals, everything starts out as a flip. And if it fits my numbers how I want them to, it'll end up being something I hold on to as a rental. And why do I use 75%? Because like I said, banks are only want to lend 75% of the appraised value. So that number will come in again later. So this is the case study. This is the property. You can see it looks a little bit like those first two I showed you. But how did I find it? It was across the street. If you look in that window there, there's a little teeny tiny white sign. And I recognize that has a nice star on the front of it. That's one of those sheriff eviction letters. And it was just sitting across the street. I walked over there and I looked in the windows. There's nobody living there. Nobody had been coming and going for months. The place had damage. So I looked up the owner, basically like Drive for Dollars, looked up the owner. I sent him a letter. He didn't respond. Waited a few months. I sent him another letter. And I was like, hey man, I sent you one before. I live across the street from this house. I see nobody's been here. I see it needs work. This is what I do is I buy properties just like this. We started talking and he wanted $80,000. And I knew that this house was basically the exact same as my two across the street. They're 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, just over 1,250 square feet. And I ran some comps and I thought the ARV would be between 115 to 120. So put the Mayo formula together for this, 115,000 at 75% of that minus 10. So I thought the repairs would be about 10,000. So my maximum allowable offer would have been $76,250. I offered him $72,000 just to give myself some negotiation, some wiggle room. And he was like, you know what, cool, I'm done with it. These are actual pictures from that house. The tenants destroyed it. They pulled out all the carpet because it smelled so bad. They had painted the downstairs walls red, like a crimson red. It was like red. It wasn't like a little bit of red. And something else I noticed when we were in the rehab was that when we're going around changing the outlets and switches to white, I guess they'd had drafts coming through there because they filled every single outlet and switch with that spray foam insulation. That was a nightmare. So step 2 in the burst strategy is the rehab. I put my repair numbers together. I said it was going to be around $10,000. And that covered, we didn't do a lot of work to it. That $10,000 was interior and exterior paint, was drywall repairs, floor coverings, like electrical fixtures, lights, things like that, and siding repairs. And I didn't put a lot of money into it because the house next to it here was disgusting. I mean, you can see it's like a yellow brown. It looks even worse now. I mean, the siding's rotten, the roof's rotten, the fascia is gross. And during the course of my rehab, I contacted that owner and I told him I would do it for free. I would take care of that siding. I would repaint it. I'd make it look nicer because if that one didn't look good, it's going to limit who I can rent mine to and what I can rent it for. He hung up on me. So that one looks gross. But I will either he's going to fix it up sometime or I'm going to buy it from him and I'll fix it up. So, like I said, I did a small rehab because I'm not going to put $25,000 into this house and have it be the nice house in the ugly neighborhood because I wanted to hold on to it. So all into this property. So we bought it for 72, put about 10 into it. So we're into it for just under 82,000. And I had a private lender on this one who lent 80,000. So after buying it, we were only into it. The business was only into it for about $2,000. And after it's fixed up, it's time to rent it out. So how do you rent? How do you find good tenants? Good tenants are extremely important because bad ones are going to make your life a nightmare. 2, you've got a mortgage to pay. The mortgage, your credit's on the line also. Bad tenants, if they're not paying, you still got to pay your mortgage. I don't want to ever put that in jeopardy. 3, good tenants keep your property in good condition. If if your rental only brings you in $350 a month, that's $4,200 a year. And, you know, if they go out and beat up your HVAC system or destroy the house and you have to repaint everything, I mean, it doesn't take a lot of damage to wipe that whole profit out. So that's a year gone. And then you have to find new tenants. And this, my rental properties, they're my retirement. It's one of your biggest assets. And I actually have this conversation with all of my tenants when we are about to sign the lease. I tell them that these rental properties are my retirement. I'm serious with them. I tell them that I'm going to protect my retirement the same way you or me or anybody else might protect their IRA, their 401k, their pension. And at the same time, I'm also evaluating this tenant to see if I would trust them with my retirement. So how do you find good tenants? You got to screen. I mean, that's it. It's literally screening. If you do it right, they will even screen themselves out. So these are the steps that I use to find good tenants, and it has always worked for me. I mean, I've out of all my rental properties and all the years I've had them, I have collected 3 late payments ever. So first thing I do is I will post the property for rent on Zillow. Zillow will then push that out to other rental websites. And I will begin to advertise the property before it's ready, because I want to get people in. I want to get people lined up wanting this house before it's even vacant. And then I always throw this in. This is actually one of my rental descriptions I put on Zillow. I always start them all off with this. This property is not advertised on Craigslist. Any contact from Craigslist about this unit's a scam. Because what will happen is scammers will take your property from Zillow. They will say it's rented, say you're asking $1,500 a month. They will take it, they will post it on Craigslist for about $700 a month. And then when somebody contacts them, the scammer will tell this potential renter, they'll say, hey, I live out of town. My last tenant lost the key. So if you send me a cashier's check for $700 or even, you know, double that, $1,400 for security deposit and first month's rent, go ahead, let yourself into the house. Go ahead and change the lock. It's okay. Because I'm out of town. I'm not going to come in town to take care of it. And what happens is these people go in, they'll kick in the door, they'll change the locks, they'll send this guy $1,400, and then that guy is gone. Your property has now got somebody else in it. And I figure that if somebody is going to look up my property, it'll pop up on Zillow. And then if they were contacted over Craigslist, then hopefully they'll see that this is here. I just don't want to put myself in that situation, because then it can be a nightmare to get those people out of your property when they're not even supposed to be there.
Has that happened to you, Brett?
Has not happened to me.
I've heard of it happening, but I didn't know if it's actually happened to you.
So it has not happened to me. It almost happened to my dad with one of his rental properties. He had somebody contact him saying that they found his property on Craigslist and that it was listed for a higher amount on Zillow. And what was the actual price? So now my dad puts this in all of his listings also.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Guy.
Go ahead.
I said he knows everything because he's the Dos Equis guy.
There you go. So step 2 is I start a spreadsheet. It's a rental applicant spreadsheet. It has their name, it has their email address, it has their phone number, and then there's a few other columns in there that these 5 questions will relate to. We'll go through that in a second. But basically, I start a spreadsheet. Whenever anybody comes across one of my listings on Zillow, they're going to click one of these 3 buttons, and then Zillow sends you an email. You then have their email relay, and I just have a template response I send back to them. Hey, what's your phone number? I want to have a conversation about the property. And then, well, actually, I don't do this anymore. I have it set up so my virtual assistants handle all this. But you get their phone number back, you put it into the spreadsheet, and you're going to call them up, and you're going to have an initial conversation. So I'll get 60 to 100 folks that have clicked on these buttons that are interested. And then again, my VA calls them and has this conversation with them. I used to do it, but I will call each applicant and you ask them these 5 questions. And this is one of the most important parts. You're going to look for red flags. The big thing is you're going to trust your gut for a lot of these people. So the questions are, the first one is, when are you looking to move? Because you'll have people that either need to move immediately. Sometimes that's not typically a good sign, because either they're not paying their rent and they have to get out, or maybe they're not paying their mortgage and they have to get out. I'm always a little skeptical of folks that need to move right now. And then you also get folks that are looking for a place to rent in 5 to 6 months. And if your place is coming available the next month, you don't want to hold it for 4 months. You don't want it to be vacant. So I always ask that. I ask why you're moving. People move for a job, they need a bigger place, they're getting divorced, their lease is ending, or are they telling you stuff like, my landlord sucks, I need a new place to live. I've had these conversations with interested tenants or interested applicants, and I said, why are you moving? Why are you looking to move now? Oh, my landlord and I are in a fight. My landlord won't fix things, like they won't change the light bulbs for me. The place has fleas. They want me to pay for things that I broke. Those are the people that I question. I mean, I don't want to rent to them. And again, they're all just screening questions. Next thing I asked, what's your monthly income? Because you want to make sure they can pay the rent. I always tell them, this is an exact quote. I'll say, we have a minimum income requirement that's 3 times the monthly rent. So how much do you bring in each month? And if my place is for rent for $1,200, $1,300 a month, and they only make $1,500 a month, pretty sure that's not going to work. And I'll tell that to everybody. You tell the same thing to everybody. It's not discrimination. And then I asked them this, are you okay with a credit and a background check? Because again, folks, if they have credit issues or criminal past, they will either bring it up right then and there, and you guys can talk about it then, because it will come up later on, or those folks will screen themselves out and they'll stop responding to your emails. They won't come to your showings. They won't try to rent the place. The last one, I say, are you okay with a previous landlord reference check? And I always do that. Always want to talk to a previous landlord. Because again, those folks that have had bad experience or fights with their landlords, you don't want to rent to them. If they were a problem before, they're probably going to be a problem again. So step 4.
Brett, let me pause you right there. Cheryl Gleason, who's on the call, the thing that we were talking about with Craigslist, she says that that's happened to her twice. And I believe, Cheryl, you're a property manager, right? So this, you go through a lot of screenings, right? And then the follow-up question, Cheryl, is, do you feel like it's the same with like Facebook Marketplace?
Well, they're 2 very different things, but what we've had happen is, yeah, we put stuff up on our website, and our situation is we have Appfolio, so we are able to post it on our website immediately and then click another button that posts it out to 100 other websites, including Zillow. So we do get calls, and we've had 2 of them happen in the last year where somebody had said, hey, I saw this on Craigslist for $400 and it was supposed to be $9.95 or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah. Absolutely. It happens.
And so, you do it through Appfolio and it goes out to a bunch of sites. Do you also do you have any feelings on Facebook? But somebody else asked about Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, on Facebook, oh, man, it's a lot of, I don't even know what to say. Like it's a lot of monotonous back and forth that just eats up your day, your time, your every bit of any moment that you could possibly have for yourself. So we avoided that now because we do have the ability to do what we do with Appfolio.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's super helpful. All right. Sorry, Brett, to interrupt. I just wanted to get those 2 questions.
No, that's all right.
Sorry.
Thanks, Cheryl.
You're good. I've heard folks have some really good success finding renters with Facebook Marketplace, but I can absolutely see how there'd be a lot of monotonous back and forth with that.
Well, even with me, you know, finding furniture for properties, sometimes I just have, I agree that even with that, it's just a lot of looky-loos and not as, if they're serious, they're probably going to go to a Zillow. They're going to go to a website. They're going to go to those. So I could see those being more quality leads other places as well.
Right, right. Okay, so I collect all of those emails. I put them in that spreadsheet because I don't do individual tours. I'll do an open house. When I first started advertising a property for rent, like the first one ever, you set a time to meet somebody there and they don't show up. And it happens all the time. So I don't do individual tours anymore. I'll do an open house, and I'll do an open house at 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30 on Saturday morning, because everybody who went out and partied too hard on Friday night, they're not going to be there. But collect all those emails. And then what I'll do is I'll have a showing before my current tenants move out. So, and I'll bribe them. I will tell them, I'll say, hey guys, here's a $25 gift card. Obviously I ask them first. I say, hey, would you let me do a showing for the next tenant since you guys are moving out? I give them a $25 gift card to go to a Flying Biscuit or somewhere for breakfast. And then they'll let me have the house from like 10 to 11 Saturday morning. They're gone. I've asked them to clean the house just so we can have a showing. And I've never had anybody say no. And then I'll send out email invites. I'll send out a bunch of them to folks that are on that spreadsheet, telling them about our rental open house. I said, hey, you guys expressed an interest in it. Let you know we're doing a rental open house on this day and this time. And, you know, I give them lots of reminders, and I always attach the application to the email. And almost, I'd say probably 80 to 90% of the time when I do an open house for a property, I get it rented that first hour. Folks come in with the application filled out and their application fee, and we're done. I mean, it's rented, super easy. And you can set it up so if we do the open house a month before it becomes vacant, then I'll turn places over in a weekend. I'll have the new folks moving in on Sunday.
Got it.
It's great. Cut your vacancy down.
Okay.
The last step in the screening process are the checks. So I always call previous landlords, and then we do a credit and background check. I had a previous landlord who the tenants were a little, their applicants were a little weird. I just got a weird vibe from them. So I called their landlord and I asked them what was going on. The landlord was trying to sell the place, but the tenants wouldn't let her or anybody else in the house to see it. So she hadn't seen it in a couple of years. And I didn't want that in my house. So I didn't rent to those folks. Oh, and I'll tell you the story of the one time that I really feel like I got saved. Was I had a house for rent for like $1,700 a month. It was or $2,200 a month. It was a really nice house. And I had this lady who called me up. She had to see it. So I actually had my assistant show her the house. The lady came in, she sent me an email that had like 17 attachments to it, which was like her pay stubs, her husband's pay stubs, the letter from their vet about their dog. It had, I guess, like a background checks. It was all kinds of stuff that you could possibly think of if you were trying to convince somebody to rent you a house. And I took her application fee. I called her landlord, who didn't answer numerous times until I left a voicemail. And then the lady called me back, and I just didn't get a good feeling. I looked him up on the tax records. I looked up the landlord, her current landlord, in the tax records, and it wasn't the name of the lady who I was talking to on the phone. And things just weren't going well. But the lady said she'd owned it for like 6 years and it had just changed hands like a year before. It clearly wasn't the landlord. The person she listed as her landlord did not own the house that she was living in. And I told this lady, I finally said, hey, look, I can't rent to you. These are all the reasons why. And then the very next day after I told her that, the house that lady was living in went up for sale by owner as is on Zillow. So I feel like I dodged a bullet on that one. Like I said, you really want to trust your gut with this. After they pass all the screening, then we sign a lease. I let them know that the pet fee and the security deposit are due at lease signing. And I tell them it's a fee. It's not a pet deposit. Deposits are refundable, fees are not. And then the first month's rent is due at the time they get the keys. And that's, just make sure that those checks clear before you let them in the house. So step 4, you want to refinance. It's the third R: buy, rehab, rent, refinance. And so my goal is to cash flow. I want all of my rental properties to cash flow. The more cash flow you have now, the sooner you get to retire. And so I want the lowest monthly payment possible. So I'm looking for a long-term mortgage with the lowest rate. And you're going to refinance your private lender on these projects once the property is rented. So I look for small banks, portfolio lenders. I'm not going to go to Wells Fargo or Bank of America to try and refinance these properties, because they're just following their checklist. It's red tape the whole way there, and it takes forever. And it's always a pain in the butt when I use those big banks. So I look for small banks, and the easiest way to find the small banks in your area, you're going to search the FDIC website. So if you Google FDIC institution directory, it is the very first thing that pops up, and you'll go into the search. Actually, I think I have it up right here. So this is what pops up. So if you go in here, you set the state.
Brett, this is awesome. I've asked, I think, 3 speakers last year to talk about how they find like local banks. This is awesome. This is great. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, this is it right here. You set the state. I go into financials, and you're looking for small banks. So down here, size or performance, I'll look up total assets, and then I will set the search to equal or less than 500 million. And then search. Oh, well, they kicked me out, but this is what pops up. So these are the banks in North Carolina.
And what is the 500 million?
That's just their total assets.
Okay.
How much they own. These are the smallest banks in
and 500 million was your cap. You're right. Your max.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So you got the bank, you got where they are located, obviously North Carolina, and then there's their assets right here. And literally, I put that into a spreadsheet, and then I called up all those banks. You call somebody at the bank and you say, hey, I need to talk to somebody about getting a mortgage. And once you talk with them, I ask them, first off, do they do any portfolio lending? Do they hold on to their loans, or do they sell them on the secondary market to Freddie and Fannie? Because was it Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac? They have certain requirements. For a bank that's going to see small banks that actually hold on to and service their own loans, they can be more flexible with their requirements, and it's an easier process. So I asked them, do they hold on to their loans? I asked them for seasoning requirements, because lots of times banks won't refinance unless you've had the mortgage for 6 months or a year. And on these properties, I try and turn them over in 3 or 4 months. You also ask them, are they going to lend on the new appraised value of the property, or are they going to look at the recent sales price? Because they will do that also. If I bought this house for $72,000, if they're only going to refinance 75% of that, that's not going to work for me. Because like I said, I'm trying to not have so much money in these properties. I'll also ask, what percent of the appraised value are they going to lend? Because some of the banks out there will even do like 80 or 90%. I've had conversations with some of those folks also. And what I tell them is I'm looking for a rate and term refi, because I basically want to, if I'm paying my private lender 12% and it's due in 9 months, I'm looking for a 30-year mortgage and your cheapest rate. and again, you can look for a cash out refinance also, but lots of times I've found that those want a longer seasoning requirement and that they will rather lend on the recent sale price. So all of mine are typically rate and term. And then you also will want to ask these smaller banks what area they will lend. Because I know Roxborough Savings Bank, they're in Roxborough County, they'll only lend there and then the county surrounding. So Roxborough Savings Bank will lend in Durham County, but they won't lend in Wake County. And so yeah, back to the property. So I went and I refinanced it. So the numbers, I thought we were going to spend about $10,000 on the rehab. We spent just under that. The rent, when I was analyzing the property, I thought I could rent it for about $1,100 a month, but we got it rented for $1,150, which is really cheap. I mean, my ones across the street from that property rent for $1,350 a month because they're nicer and they're not next to that ugly house. So the ARV on this one, I thought we could, it would appraise for between 115 and 120. I was pretty conservative with my numbers. The appraisal came back at 145.
Nice.
Yeah, it was, I was pretty happy when I saw that. So we refinanced for $88,000, which gave us, as soon as we signed that paper, we had $57,000 in equity just out of nowhere. The principal or my payment on that property is $581 a month. So we cash flowed just over $550 a month. And again, that doesn't include vacancy and maintenance, but we've had the same tenant in there since day one. So I'm happy about that. No vacancy. And then my out of pocket, when I went to sign, I had to bring $92. And the only reason I had to bring $92 was, I mean, we could have got that added in, but it would have had to go back through, and my lender was looking for their funds back because we were going to roll that into the next project that we were buying next week. So I could have gotten out of this one with no money out of my pocket. Could have been completely free. But when I look at the numbers, $569 a month, it's $6,800 a year, minus 20% maintenance and vacancy, which, like I said, we've had no vacancy. My return on investment is almost 6,000% per year. So
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So let's dumb it down here just a little bit. So when you say at closing, so rewind to back when you called your neighbor twice, right? And you said, and he didn't answer the first letter, and then you sent the second letter. So when you purchase it, did you purchase it right off and then did the rehab, or did he still own it while you were doing the rehab?
Okay, so I bought it using a private lender.
Okay.
I bought it using a private lender.
The $80,000.
Right.
Okay.
So all of my properties, all of my deals, I get funded with a private lender, and we try to get the full purchase price and rehab financed. And then at the end of the day, we'll refinance them out of it. So we refinance a private lender out of it into a long-term bank note.
Okay.
A long-term mortgage.
Okay, awesome. And sorry, some other questions that have come in. What do you use Cozy for? Just, do you use the screening and application and everything, or you just use your standard application? What do you use Cozy for?
So I use my own application just because I always have, and we collect those in person. But I use Cozy for the credit and background checks. And on a few properties, I use it to collect rent just because it sends them a reminder, and I literally don't have to do anything for it. I'll tell you what I don't like about Cozy is that it can take 4 or 5 days for it to transfer into your account. So if you get those tenants that pay on the 5th of the month every month, just before the late fee kicks in, then you might not get your rent from them until the 10th or 11th.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. But can they use a credit card on Cozy or no?
I think they can. I don't really know. I only see my side of it.
Okay, yeah. And then, oh, when you were talking about like giving the tenants a gift card to get them out during showings, that's not necessarily during your burr projects, right? Because I picture like by rehab. So like you just finished the rehab, then you're ready to have the thing, right?
So when I do the gift card with the tenants, that's when we're changing over between tenants.
Okay,
So
that makes
they,
sense. I just want to make sure.
okay, yeah, they won't be the first people in there after you finish your rehab.
Okay,
And-
and then, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I want to, before I forget, with Cozy, I like that for the credit and background check because literally all I do is I put in their name, the tenant's name, and their email address in there. The tenants get an email from Cozy, and the tenants log into Cozy, put their information in. They tenants pay for their own credit and background check, and I just get the report.
Yeah, that's awesome. We use Zillows. And so I was wondering how they compare, but I do like that on Zillow that it's like, nope, you just pay directly. I don't have to worry about collecting your money. So that's awesome. Other question, do you hold your properties in your own name or LLC? And then the second part of that question is how does that impact your conversation with lenders? Do you have
Okay,
to?
yeah. So I hold, so they are in my flipping business while we're doing the rehab. We do the rehab, we get it rented out. I transfer it into my personal name, and then I go to the bank and get it refinanced in my personal name.
Okay. And then do you end up switching it over again a
Yes,
few
I'll
months
put
later?
it. Then I have another LLC that holds rentals that I'll put it into after that.
Okay, so one more time, it's in one LLC, then it goes into your personal so that you can refinance it, and then you put it into a different LLC?
Yes.
Okay, because, well, it probably, yeah, okay. Sounds good, because one's going to be taxed as an S corp and one's not, right? So,
Right.
because if you're long terms. Hopefully that answered that question. Let's see, we've got lots of good questions. You have the most questions we've ever had, Brett. This is awesome. Let's see. William Anthony got in on the Cozy conversation, and he said you can pay a small fee on Cozy and get your money in 2 to 3 days, which is better. Do you ever refi your loans in your LLC name?
I have not yet, but it might happen in the future.
Okay. Yeah. Good questions, guys. These are great. Keep them coming. All right. I didn't mean to cut you off. Do you have keep going with your slides now?
So, and then the ARV now it went up. It's probably even a little bit higher than that. So there's the tenants paying down the mortgage, equity is just increasing. And I mean, that's what I got.
Okay. So question, if you go back and you see your cash flow of like, what is it, 580 or something on this property? And I would say, I've seen that the national average is about 300 to 500 on a rental property. So it's not like it's a ton more than some other long-term strategies, okay? Because we'll keep short-term and long-term rentals different, right? But as for long-term strategies, a little bit better. But am I correct that the reason why people do use the BRRRR strategy is because you can do it without having to use money, basically, right?
Right.
Okay.
Because if it costs you, like I said, $30,000 to buy one rental, I mean, for that amount, I could have bought 3,000 rentals?
Yeah. And then it's tied up and it's not like you get that back. But in this,
Right.
you used a private lender, $80,000 was only tied up for how long while you did your rehab?
4 months, maybe.
4 months.
Total.
Okay. And then you were able to refinance and then be on the regular. And so when you refinance, sorry, I'm working through this and I have mom brain today. So I apologize if I ask a dumb question. When you refinance, you don't need any down payment at all other than your $92 or whatever you had to bring, right?
Right. Yeah. I've had one that was $92. I had one that was $1,500. I had one that was completely free. And I did the same thing with my primary residence, bought it, moved into it, refinanced it after we fixed it up. And I think that one was like $200. And then I had one that I don't want to say I screwed up. I just think the appraiser was not the best guy. But I ended up having to bring 20,000 to the table for that.
Oh gosh. Okay, that brings up a question. Do you choose your own appraiser, or the bank does, right?
The bank does.
Okay, so you don't pay for, I mean, like you pay for it, but like it's through the bank. It's not like you go ahead of time and get your own appraiser so you know what it's going to be, right? Like that's just a wasted step, right?
And the bank's gonna get their own appraisal, and they're gonna charge you for it.
Okay. Okay. So you still pay for it, but it's their choice. And even if you get a lame one that ends up costing you 20,000.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's 1:35. If anybody has any other questions, write them now because I'm going to ask a couple more questions, but then we're going to let Brett go in just a minute. So write your questions if you have them. Have you done this with short-term rentals?
Yes. So I'll tell you, I switched over from doing Airbnb to longer short-term rentals. So
Okay.
like
Like Amanda, right? Like the 30 days or like 60. How long
Yes.
do you do them? Okay. So do you even have it on Airbnb anymore?
no.
Really? And where are you finding your guests, your tenants?
Zillow.
Really?
I have I looked up other short-term rental.
Corporate furnished housing, all those, yeah.
Yeah, I looked up that and I looked up their description and I put it up. I copied their description, made it fit to my property, put it up on Zillow, and I have people paying a stupid amount of money. It's ridiculous. They're paying a stupid amount of money for like 6 or 7 months.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Anybody who knows me knows that I do Airbnbs, and I feel like that's the next update so I coach a bunch of people, right? And that's the next update that is huge, is especially, I don't know if it's a COVID thing or what, but in the last year is getting those longer stay guests that pay ridiculous amounts of money. Even, I mean, when I first started doing short-term rentals, it was like, yeah, I mean, you can fill up the calendars for 1 and 2 nights, but I love the 3-week renters. I love the 3-month renters. Those are awesome. And right now you seem to be able to find them pretty well too. So that's awesome. Let's see. Do you ever try to we got that one. Caitlin Collins asked, what does the bank consider when approving the refi? Is it just your income, or is it approval only determined by the value of the house at that point, or what?
That depends on the bank, but they're always going to look at your income. They will look at your debt to income ratio. They'll look at the value of the property and how much you're trying to refinance.
Right now for Freddie and Fannie loans, you have to like show your P&L. You like, I feel like it, because of COVID requirements, it's like crazy. Have you done one in the last 6 months? Do you feel like has it changed a lot or no? Oh, you
I
haven't
have
done one.
not done one.
Okay. I was wondering how COVID had affected that, because I feel like COVID's affected that but I don't know, because if you, like you said, if you're using a bank that doesn't have Freddie and Fannie, then maybe it's not a problem. So that would be interesting. Anybody else on the call? Have you guys refied in the last 6 months that has?
I just did one. What's the question?
The question is, did you have to like go through the extra requirements of showing your P&L? Like, just, I feel like it's a lot more than it was a lot before, but now it's like even more showing your P&L and a bunch of different things.
Like Brett says, it depends on the bank. And the one I just did it, didn't look at income at all, just did it on the property. But your banks that you're going to find through that FDIC probably are going to look at income. If you find an institutional hard money lender, some of them will just do it on the value of the property, and usually that would mean a higher rate, but right now at the present time they have some pretty competitive rates.
Kathy, who do you use as an institutional hard HML?
The one I just used, it was my first time, and I'll tell you the experience was fantastic, and it was called Peachtree Capital. The guy's name was Kevin Ramirez. I think I actually got the referral maybe from, anyway, I'll find his number and put it in the chat.
That would be awesome.
He was great to work with, and he did a really weird refi for me.
What was your rates? Were your rates crazy different?
Well, he did several for me. The rate he did a non-burr. It was my rehab loan, and the rate on that was 8, which is great.
Yeah.
Charged 2 points. I want to say the rate was 5 or for the regular old refi.
Okay. And Brett, what rates do you feel like you're pulling in with your FDICs?
So I haven't done one.
Since COVID?
Actually, I did one early last year. I think it was. Hold on.
It's okay. If not, it's not a big deal.
We got
Hey,
it right here.
Melanie, let me say something, Miss, because
4%.
I've got a couple of these questions, and instead of sending them to you, I just answered it, but now two more people have asked the same question. They're asking if the property's moved to an LLC and you refinance, Brett, and then you move the property to an LLC. They're thinking that the bank can call the note. Let me tell you, the relevant language in a deed of trust says they can call the note if there's a transfer of beneficial interest. That's the exact wording. An LLC that you own is not a transfer of beneficial interest, so that's not a concern. Someone here in the chat's telling me that they had a bank call that. That is wrong and illegal, and if you get a lawyer, they won't be able to get away from that. So if it's an LLC that somebody else owns, yes, you are correct. If you own the LLC, no, they can't.
And if anybody's new and doesn't know, Kathy is actually an attorney, so you might want to hire her if you have that come up, because she knows her stuff. Let's see. All right. I think I've answered all the questions that have come through on my side. Kathy, do you have any others that have come through on yours? Okay. Brett, tell us what you're up to now. What are your 2021 goals as we wrap up, and how can people, are you on Facebook? Well, where should people find you?
Probably easiest to find on Facebook, but I'm on Facebook and Instagram. My contact information is up here on the page. 2020 goals. I want to do 40 deals this year. I have a project manager in place to handle my rehabs. I hired a mentor to basically teach me how to get an acquisitions person in place on my team, so that basically I run the people and stay out of the everyday part of the business. I want to get my GC license. I want to get a small multifamily property somewhere in North Carolina. I'd like to add another rental, or even like a multifamily Airbnb somewhere.
That would be awesome. I can't wait to see you do awesome things this year. Thank you so much for being here, Brett, and for your time. If you guys didn't see that Kathy put in the chat the contact for Peachtree Capital, Kevin Ramirez, which
just put the one that Cheryl recommends as well.
Oh, thank you, Cheryl. Okay. Brett, do you have a favorite bank you've worked with that you want to put in the chat, or favorite lender, I guess?
I don't have their contact, but I use Central Bank.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else, Kathy? Anything else from the board? Thank you so much, Brett. You're a rock star. You guys seriously reach out to him on Facebook. He does great things. And yeah, thanks for being here. Excited to see you guys at the next meeting. And yeah, have a great month, guys.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, did you want my contact? Is that what you're asking for, Ansar? Let me see. Let me unmute you. Ansar, can you hear me? Mr. Footman? Hey, were you asking for full contact info?
Yes, I don't know what happened. I hit something. Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna put it in the chat for you. Or is it easier for me to tell you?
It doesn't matter. I'll write it down right now.
All right, it's
I'm still using the old-fashioned way of getting
yeah.
it out.
My phone number is 919-754-3904. And honestly, the best way to get me is email, and that is Kathy, which is Kathie at
Okay.
rdulaw.com. I did put it in the chat if it's easier to look at than listen to.
I got it, and I think I've written it down before, but I misplaced it. But now I got it in my pad because I'm working on a deal right now, and it's gonna be a partnership involved, and I need some consultation because it's the first deal of the sorts for myself. So.
Okay, well, let me tell you this. My normal consult fee is $250. If you call my office, tell them I told you it'd be a free consult, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, look
Okay,
forward.
so
Just remind them because they'll charge you $250.
I'll call it what?
Just tell them I said it would be a free consult.
Okay, when should I call? Like when you want me to call? When you say this is the time to call, that's when I'm gonna call.
You can call anytime and they'll set you up an appointment. The important thing is
Okay.
make sure, tell them I told you it was free. Otherwise, else, you know what? I'll send them an email and tell them to.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so I'll call and I set it up. I'll call today.
Yeah, and they'll
And
set
I'll
you up.
schedule it.
Yep, you're very welcome. I talk to you soon.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.